That does sound gross. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, hello, good night. Depends where you are in the world, but it's afternoon here. It's a cooking afternoon here. Summer has arrived. We have a couple of days scheduled now where we have temperatures of, well, north of 36 degrees Celsius, so that's pretty warm. If you speak Fahrenheit, then it's in the high 90s. Might even push into the low hundreds. No, not quite there yet, but not far off. Anyway, Andrew and I are bumbling along this Sunday afternoon, and we actually, when I got in the car, I was like, well, what do we feel like? And I really feel like a rhino. I think a rhino would be a fabulous way to start the afternoon. Sounds like the lions are on Kaya as well as the wild dogs, so we might have to appreciate the big pachyderms today if we can find the elephants. Imagine an elephant and rhino drive, that would be fun. Of course, just because the females, the lions, have been found on Kaya doesn't mean the males are there. We'll have to wait for more of a radio update before I can confirm. But in the meantime, hello Carol, Bob, Rosemary. We've got Mary with us, of course, Christine. Hello Mum Ruth. Brandy, Elsa, Di. Betty. Have I left anybody old? Jan, nice of you to join us. This, Bob, is a great way to start your Sunday morning, especially because now you know your day will start well, and so your day will be well. It'll be a good day. I saw there was a question in here, but I don't know where it's gone. Wow, Jan says it's going to be over 100 degrees Fahrenheit where you are. So that's very, very warm. No doubt very soon our temperatures will be joining you, but for now we are you're just pipping us to the heat post. Actually driving, it feels like I'm in a closed car with a heater on. It's that feeling. But I love it. I love a summer safari, because there's only a short little window that animals want to move. They only really like moving when it's a bit cooler. I mean, they'll move all through the day. They don't read the textbooks we do, so they don't conform to the patterns we expect them to. But let's check this crib down here and then we'll continue on our way. There are good tracks of rhinos here, and if I were a rhino, I'd be looking for somewhere to drink. But as the days get hotter and longer, there's this little window of wake up in the evenings that is just so much fun. Everything you could see in winter spaced out over the course of a day seems to be condensed into a tiny period of time. You see this here, Andrew? I thought it was a drag mark, but it doesn't look like it. Interesting. Initially I thought we had a drag mark on the road, but it's not a drag mark. It just looks like perhaps where a tire's been. All right, have a look here. This is looking a little bit dire. Can you get to the crib, or am I right in the way? Let me get out the way here. Alrighty, there you go, Andrew, thank you. So, if you have a look at where the line is, maybe I should go there. Can I go there? Just checking we don't have any crocs lurking. Okay, if you have a look here, this is the normal water. Ooh, the normal water level is around there. And yesterday, if you were on drive yesterday, you would have seen Gareth watching, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, Friday. You would have seen Gareth watching the elephants pulling the pipes out the ground. Now it's been the weekend here, and so all the pipe maintenance people have not been at work, naturally. So the elephants could not have chosen a more inopportune time to have pulled the pipes out because they haven't been repaired. So these crypts are losing water quite quickly. They're all pumped by the same system, water system. And cheeky little elephants, not so little elephants, have managed to pull the pipes out that supply all of the crypts and the reservoir. So the water levels are quickly reclining. Reclining? They're not reclining. They're not old men in a chair. They're receding. Yeah, Christine, I agree. Thanks, Elise. It's nice. Good job. It's typical of them, elephants. Anyway, back on our search for rhinos. You know, I particularly would love to see Kalula or Lula, see how they're doing. In the meantime, there's a beautiful flock of Guinea fowl, helmeted Guinea fowl here, pecking away. They're all within the more sandy section, so I wonder what they've got in there. None of them are within the grass, so I can't see with binoculars what they're feeding on. An educated guess would be either seeds or, yeah, it looks like it could be, or even small ants. They do have quite a mixed diet, so it could be either of those things, but I'm just doing guesswork. Even on the camera, I'm not really able to see what it is that they're feeding on. Look at that one in the shot now. You can see how its bill's open, and in the area below, it's kind of where you would imagine the throat. There's a lot of movement there. That's effectively a bird panting. They are just as warm as we are, and it's important that they cool themselves down. Often when you'll see a bird relatively still with its bill open, you know that it's feeling the heat. All of them, even look at them, they all walk around with their bills open, just trying to regulate their body temperatures, bring their core temperatures down so that they don't get too hot. I'd imagine wearing a down jacket all your life has its perks, but I think in summer it definitely also has its hindrances. Here's our first quiz of the day. What age is a guinea fowl when its head turns blue and red? How old is a guinea fowl does it have to get to roughly before its head will change into a blue color from a gray color? I'll give you a clue. When I first learned this way back when, I was surprised. I thought it was, for me, it was a long period of time. Betty, the dogs have been seen regularly, but they've been seen on Kaya, so we haven't seen them for a while. I think Andrew was the last one to put the dogs on camera. They're fine, they're doing well, but they're just enjoying the furthest corner of Kaya at the moment.
All of the members of the pride have been they've moved off from the picking spot number 1 towards the dam itself, or just static at the moment.
2 years is a really good guess, Mary. Anybody else going to hazard a guess? Great shots there.
I'm responding to the Rhino call. About 5 minutes out.
All right, so we're gonna just carry on, but it sounds like there's a rhino cow not too far from here. Maybe it's Lula or Kalula.
The Rhino cow is actually a bull, and it's in the best mood today. Just so you know.
Interesting. The rhino cow on the radio is actually a bull, is what the lady on the radio said, and she said it's not in the best mood today. So, we're here, we're on this road. Let's see. I wonder why he's not in the best mood today. Okay, so the guinea fowls, their heads change color. I think, let me just check if anybody else has given us, no. We've just got Mary's 2-year guess, which is a really good guess. It's actually around 11 months. And they reach sexual maturity around that time too. And that makes so much sense because they actually reach it a month or two before. And it makes so much sense that they would flush with color once they've reached sexual maturity, because color in birds, we know, is a breeding symbol. It's something that they use to be able to entice mates. So it makes a lot of sense that the coloration on a guinea fowl would correlate closely with it when it reaches sexual maturity. And then it its life expectancy is about 12 years, so 10 to 12 years, and that means that they have a good 10, 11 years that if they're not hunted and become somebody's dinner, that they can breed. And that is why they're such a prolific species. You know, we have fantastic flocks of helmeted guinea fowl here. We had them in other parts of the Kruger. They are a really successful breeding bird. Most flock birds do quite well, and these ground-dwelling birds also do particularly well. I don't know, they seem to breed quickly. They lose quite a number of their offspring in a clutch, but I'll pull over. Yeah. We're also looking for him. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you guys?
Hi there. Thanks, that's great.
So sorry. Don't apologize.
It's like a nice wait here.
You can get back a lot later than I promised.
Whoops. We've got a couple of torches. We're also looking for this rhino cow bull. I don't know why he's in a bad mood, but we haven't seen him. We've been working the area.
We need to sort him out.
Okay.
No, he can't.
He can't be in a bad mood.
No, he can't attack vehicles or stuff like that.
I'll let you know if we find him, but you've obviously come from here, so maybe he's moved.
Okay.
We're just going to spend some
I was
time.
just thinking it's one of the cows, because somebody reported a cow here, and then I thought it's the one that broke out.
Oh yeah, I was also hoping. We were starting today to look for them. Have you seen more of them?
So they were around the Boma, apparently, and Snail Lane in that area, and then...
We've seen one regularly.
And then also near you guys.
Looking good. Yeah.
The Boma gate's not looking good.
That's fine. It's fine. All right.
It's a new shape. That's the new thing.
It's a new thing. It's trendy.
New fashion, yeah.
It's
2025 is coming.
It's not a sliding gate anymore.
It's a swing gate.
It's a swing gate. Maybe that's all we need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, let's go see if we can find them. Sorry, Andrew, are you good? Drove Andrew into a thorn bush there, and I heard him squeal.
You wonder why I have holes in my t-shirts.
And we wonder why he has holes in his t-shirts. So that was Hanu and Andreas, who are Rhino Revolution. They're the main guys behind Rhino Revolution, and those of you who were with us on Wednesday last week will have remembered you'll know the rhino cows that we moved from a captive center. They had been moved into that center because their mothers unfortunately had been poached when they were very young, 4 and 5 months old, both of them. And there's vehicle tracks that come out of here, so I'm just going to go in here and see if we can find this rhino. But actually those 2 females broke out of the boma when they had just been put into the boma. And so we're all extra excited to keep an eye out for them, because I mean, we're invested in them, you know. We moved them from their enclosure into the wild, thinking that we could acclimatize them, feed them, supplement them, and just kind of get them into slightly better condition, and then let them be free when the conditions, wild conditions, were just a little bit more accommodating. But they were ready, and they chose to be free on their own terms, which I kind of love about them. But now we all keep a keen eye. We keep a beady eye out looking for them, just so that we can give updates, let everybody know how they are. Of course, for us it's really important that we make a success of this for them. I mean, every rhino matters, and all the genetics are important as well.
Here on the southern face line, close to Madrid.
Oh, that's cool.
This is Madrid, close to...
Okay, well, it sounds like the male lions are not with the females. So we're going to spend a little bit more time in this area really looking for this rhino. We would be interested to know why the person on the radio has said that it's a bit of a grumpy one. Figure out. I mean, it's definitely one that must have given the vehicle some reason to say that it's grumpy. And you know what? I don't know who the person was who called it grumpy, but oftentimes these things are very subjective. One person's fear is actually another person's understanding that, you know, this rhino's fine. Or, you know, or one person thinking that it's fine might make somebody who knows a little bit more think, oh, that's a bit strange behavior. So it's always just good to get a second set of eyes or a third set of eyes and have a look. That said, if an animal's having a bad day, sometimes we also choose to give them space, just so that we don't further deteriorate their day.
I'm out of the log of the pride here by Leopard to static on the northern side of Leopard. One station unlocked.
Let's check if we have any more from all of you. Basically, the rhinos that we released don't have collars. They also don't have notch numbers. The idea was to let them settle, and then, I mean, I'm not sure if they were going to release them and later just check them, give them a light sedation and check how their condition and their health is, and then do the notches and the collar. Or, I mean, I'm not entirely sure what that process was, but we didn't do it on the day that we moved them. And so they are the only rhinos on this reserve. They're identifiable by 3 different things. Firstly, they're not collared, but there are other rhinos on this property that are also not collared. Secondly, they're not notched, and that's very unique. Every other rhino on this reserve, unless it's absolutely tiny, has been notched. And then, third of all, their horns have been cut straight off. So it was quite a quick job. We needed to just get those horns off and load them on the crate. There were a lot of things happening on that day, and we didn't want to keep them down, sedated for too long. We needed to get them onto the crates, and to do that you use a very, very light sedation, because they have to walk while they're under sedation. Obviously, if you've watched the video, you will see that people were supporting them, and they're being led with a like a lead around the head, but a very light sedation. Too much horn maintenance, ear clipping and all of that can just be a little bit intrusive. And so they are the only two females, or the only two rhinos on this property whose horns are dead straight off. Everyone else's have been rounded. We're going to pop back out at the crib here. If we're not finding the rhino that was on this road, I wonder if it's not come to these water points. So what I'm going to do from here is head a little further east, maybe head to Kudu Krip and see if they've been drinking there. Hello, Brian. There are actually good rhino tracks here, but I think they're from earlier on in the day.
Rhinos on Yellow Road on Kaya, heading north.
Okay, the rhino is definitely not going to be using the reservoir. It's just far too high. Only elephants are really using the reservoir, and now that they've pulled the pipe out and the water levels are dropping, they might even struggle, because it's about my hip. It was about from my feet to my hip deep, or that much gap before the elephant's trunk would hit water. And now I think that because the water levels have declined, it's going to be even trickier.
Yeah, would I have permission to join you?
I'm going to quickly poke my nose in and see how much we have lost, and then I'll let you know.
Some of them are starting to get alabanzi, but they're static at the moment.
Oh yeah. It's practically empty actually. I can see the silty bottom. You can hear an echo. Hello! It's really very low. There's about this much water left in it, so poor Ellies, they've done themselves quite dirty.
Good afternoon, 5 Leopard stations on Lowveld. Rhinos on Yalareet from Kaya. Pride, Bishop Dam, pick spot number 1. Rhinos at Bishop Dam inflow. A single rhino bull on 15 south, running good move.
Hello Matty, nice of you to join us. Nice of you to join us all the way from France. We're on the search for rhinos. I can't believe the rhino was seen just before we were in the area, but with its attitude, it might just be feeling a bit shy. We have a grey go-away bird here, cleaning its bill. Usually where there's one, there's more. And of course they have the best call ever. Go away! Particularly funny when you stop to look at them and then they yell at you. You feel almost offended. Christine, if the artificial water points are gone, are there any natural water sources? So this will be sorted out relatively quickly. In fact, it will probably be sorted out by this time tomorrow. Within a closed reserve, it is important that the pumped artificial water points are maintained. We have, there you go away. love it. So they are, sorry, back to Christine's question, we do have dams on the property, a number of dams. They are not pumped, so they naturally fill in the wet season and then they drain in the dry season, and they are getting to, I mean, I think Lowveld is almost empty. Leopard Dam is looking very low, so is, I mean, all of the dams are looking pretty low, but there's still enough that if anything wanted to drink, they would be able to have a drink. And these crypts are fine. I mean, the water is low in them, but my goodness, everything's happening on Kaya this afternoon. There's even 2 honey badgers. But the water situation will be sorted out relatively quickly. Nothing's going to suffer as a result of this. If we left it particularly long, it would be a problem, but we're not going to leave it long.
The male lion, how many stages are there?
Where are our rhinos, Andrew? I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, there's no tracks here, so if the rhino has come this way, it might have come through the thicket. It's very possible. But they do like to use the roads. I mean, if you just think about it, it's so logical. There's no thorns on the roads, and there's a lot of thorns in this environment. Andrew can attest to that. I've already dragged him through a bush today. There's a good rhino midden here, so they're obviously using this area. You know, a number of things could make a white rhino bull a little bit grumpy. More often than not, it's because he's come off second best in a disagreement with another white rhino bull. And so he's feeling a little bruised, his ego's a little bit tender, everything's just a little bit more sensitive than it should be. And so if he takes a minute and rests, he should be fine. Next one. Gareth, Andrew and I were on the search for leopards again last night. What tracks are on the left here? Just zebra? No. What's next to you? That's a leopard track. It's a female leopard track.
Oh.
Yeah, so... Nope. There are female leopard tracks here. And what we're doing is we're trying very hard. The cars have driven over this set of tracks, and a diker has walked over it too. So, ooh, they're not bad at all, but okay, so let's follow this game trail. This would also go to Kudu Krip. Let's get to the Krip. Oh, there's they here. They look great. Let's take a quick little location point for our database. We're trying very hard to collect as much data as we can. Are you going to do it, or shall I do it?
Yeah, you can do it.
I'm doing it. Okay, so what we're doing, wait, I'm going to embarrass myself because I don't actually know. Gareth is the one who knows how to do this stuff. Let's say, what are we calling it?
Station with male lions on the southern fence line.
Female leopard tracks going east.
Are they west or east of Madrid Put on the fence line?
Good. Good stuff. We're hoping that the more points we can generate, the more we start to figure out what the movement patterns are. So on these mapping systems, you drop a pin and then you give a detailed explanation of what's happening there. And then realistically, we're hoping that we can build this picture that's going to help use a little bit of science, a little bit of skill, a little bit of luck, and a lot of consistency to help us see the leopards more regularly and then habituate them as a result. So the part of the process, because we don't see them that often, is to record as much detail around tracks, fresh tracks only, and scat as we possibly can. And that's just really so that we can generate a really nice data set. I'm hoping that in 3 years' time we'll be laughing at the fact that it was tricky to find leopards on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. 3 years, I feel like 3 years is fair. Maybe not. Maybe it's a little bit ambitious, but I believe in us. I believe in the process. Also, we've been quite good about going out in the evenings and driving the areas where we're seeing the most tracks. So even if we are not seeing the leopards, they should be hearing us, hearing our voice, getting comfortable with the fact that the vehicle is just really not very intrusive. And so it's just going to be about consistency and having a presence out here. So here we are at Kudu Krip. How dry? Almost empty. I mean, the good thing is if you're a leopard, you can actually now jump in there, get your toes wet, but you'd be able to drink. This is the water in the Krips being low is probably going to impact the herbivores the most. Like we've said, Christine's question prompted us to talk about the fact that everything is going to be fine by tomorrow. This should all be good again. But the antelope are going to take strain because they can't lower themselves. If you think about an impala's neck, an impala can't lower itself that low. Andrew's found an oxpecker. No doubt looking for a free ride. Maybe a giraffe or a rhino or a wildebeest or a zebra. Basically, any of the big herbivores would be a good host for an oxpecker, except for an elephant. An elephant and an oxpecker are not best friends. And it's interesting because there are areas in East Africa, Amboseli, where you'll find starlings will perch on the top of elephants and even cattle egrets. And the elephants don't protest. But they will not tolerate an oxpecker, and an oxpecker also won't land on an elephant. And I mean, I've always learned that it has something to do with the sensitivity of the skin of an elephant. It's a slightly more sensitive skin than that of some of the other big herbivores. And so the claws of the oxpecker as it bounces around can actually be quite painful to the elephant because it needs to hook its claws into the skin. And the elephant looks like it has wrinkles, but those are actually quite porous cracks. And so the deeper into those the oxpecker puts its little feet, the more discomfort the elephant experiences, which is different to an animal like a rhino who really does just have wrinkles and the oxpeckers can hang on. But yeah, it is interesting to note, I've only learned recently that starlings and cattle egrets are tolerated by elephants in the Amboseli area. Now that is a trip I would love to take so that we could go and see see different bird species riding on some of the biggest tusked elephants in Africa. That would be dreamy. In the meantime, shall we carry on with our search? To the east of us now in this section is an eroded area. Now, if I were a leopard, particularly a shy leopard, I would definitely use an eroded area like that to hide out. Close to the water, probably not frequently used by many other species, maybe the lions and perhaps the cheetahs. A cheetah is not a threat to a leopard, but a lion most certainly is a threat to a leopard. Although interesting, I've learned recently as well, what's quite interesting is that even though lions do kill leopards on the rare occasion, there's actually, overall, the research suggests that lions have very little impact on the population sizes of leopards. So there's one little female impala here. I hope she's not on her own. If she is, she'll be very vulnerable. She looks like one of last year's lambs. Not yet fully grown, but very close to. Naturally, she would hide herself entirely behind.
Static, one vehicle on site.
Okay, we're going to do a loop and see if we can get back up to Seska and see if we can find this rhino. And by the time we've searched for him, if we find him, that would be wonderful, of course, because I just feel like seeing some rhinos today. And if we don't find him, it will probably be a good time of the day to head towards where those male lions are. So definitely, I definitely think that it's worth it. It's worth heading in the direction, doing a loop all the way around, Seskant, back down, seeing if we can find our rhino, and then shooting south and a touch east to see if we can catch up with those male lions. They were very vocal. Last night they were very vocal, but we weren't live. We were just looking for leopards. And then they were, where are we? Yeah, we want to go this way. Oh no, we don't. What am I doing? I'm going crazy. We actually want to go this way. Yeah, we were out last night quite late, and we did find the male lions, and they were very vocal, roaring. They were also very lazy, completely flat. And then we went on, we continued to search for the leopards. We could hear them calling all the time. And then we looped back around, saw them again, and then carried on. And then Gareth actually had them a couple of evenings ago as well, roaring, and I've had them. So we've done really well with the male lions lately. They've really been the stars of the show. And with the females on Kaya and the wild dogs on Kaya, I actually have no idea when last the cheetah brothers were seen. Might have been the Zoom drive with Gareth on Thursday when they made a kill. Actually, it might very well have been, that might have been the last time they were seen. So I think we're definitely due a cheetah sighting sometime soon. Okay, they walked down here last night, but people have driven over their tracks. Just a little loop before they headed on south. This is definitely a road that's used regularly by rhinos and elephants because it's covered in dung. I've actually seen a number of rhinos pop out at Seskant this time of the evening, so even if we don't get the bull that we were looking for earlier in the drive, perhaps we'll get lucky with another one of the resident rhinos. Was it last night that 22 and her tiny calf we saw them, or was it the night before? We've been seeing a lot of rhinos on our leopard habituation evenings. Andrew thinks it was last night. It might have been last night. Could have been the night before when we had all of the rhinos. But we saw cow number 22 and her little calf. And even though it's after dark, it's just so cute. The moon's quite bright at the moment. So even without a spotlight, you can kind of see what's going on, and it's very sweet when you find a tiny rhino. Luckily, even though we're not seeing very many or very much of the wild dogs, there is still Andrew's photo of the week up for grabs for those of you who are pack members, which is that glorious shot of the wild dogs. One wild dog, not... Ooh, 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 there's our rhino. I'll get back to the wild dog chat. Our radio is full. Somebody else is transmitting somewhere else, so we'll give it a minute. And then we'll call it in. I'm going to give him space in case he's the one who they said had a little bit of an attitude, but the crib is not too far from here, and we haven't actually checked Seskant. Watch, I'm going to stop, he's going to mark. Tight, look how stiff those legs are, breaking the ground to prepare it for spraying. Look, he's squirting now. His apparatus is specifically designed so that he can spray backwards. Now let's see how he responds to that car approaching. Stations, we've relocated the white rhino bull. He's now on Seskant Patsate approaching Seskant Crip. There are 2 stations in this position. Let's see if we can get his notch number. Yeah. No. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I got a little bit confused there, but Andrew's right. We're already south. I was like, but it's coming up. No, I got the crip is behind us, so he's not heading towards the crip. He's heading towards the open area where we had the male lions a couple of nights ago. Just gonna correct myself when I get the chance on the radio. Oh, there's fresh rhino tracks. How's that, Andrew? He's actually exhibiting a lot of territorial behavior. I wonder if he's not, and his horn is chipped. So I wonder if he's not had other males in the area. Is he the same male we saw last night? I think so, with the 2 inside ears have been notched. Stations, just a correction on the position of this white rhino bull. He's on Seskant Patsate, south of Seskant Bultput, continuing south. I'm going to go back and then I'm going to go ahead. Hello, hello, hello. Look at that. If you can, Andrew, I don't know if it's possible, but if we can zoom into his horn, he has got a bit of a, yeah, look at that, a bit of a, no, he doesn't want to show us his horn. He's got a bit of an indentation in it. So I'm wondering if that's from a little bit of fighting or if it's just a strange cut from the dehorn or the horn trimming, excuse me. Mary, this would be the time for those ox pickers, their food truck is coming by. He doesn't seem to be too grumpy. Maybe just aware. Let me see if there's any other notches. Okay, I'm going to just check his notch number. Do you remember what the notch number was of the rhino we saw yesterday?
Just the two top ones.
Yeah, but I don't remember what that was. We saw this male last night after dark. He's number 11. Oh, now he's munching. He's found some grass to feed on.
Number 7.
I think that all of the rhinos in this area are probably going to be benefiting from Lula and Kalula's lucerne that we've been putting out for them. So he's not eating it now, but if he comes across it, he'll certainly take advantage. And at a lot of the dams and water points, these days you should see, actually not at the water points, but at some of the dams closer to Hayes and the Boma, there actually are big bundles of lucerne to supplement feed Lula and Kalula if they want it. But every other animal out here who's feeling a bit hungry is going to also, look at him. I'm going to give him a little bit of space, Andrew, just because we don't know. He's fine, but I don't want to put myself in a position where it's too late. Stay there. He's got the scent of somebody. Somebody's been in his territory and has been spraying. I think that's actually just the way he's been dehorned. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's been sharpening his horn. It did look a little bit like he had it trimmed like that, but I don't think that's the case. He's getting himself into a tricky area for Andrew to film. Let me turn us around. But he's walking circles in this area. Is he directly behind us? Yeah. So I'm sure that there's been a bull in this area that's scent marked. Kari's nose is close to the ground. He's sniffing as he goes.
Standing by for you.
Ilse, leaving the flock of the male rhino on his gun creek side, leaving one vehicle in lock.
I'm going to let him move off. That's been a wonderful rhino sighting. It scratched the itch I've had all afternoon. Beautiful. So number 11. Interesting how we went up this road looking for him and didn't find him. Perhaps he was a little further north. Nice work there. Look how cinematic that is now, Andrew. Beautiful. That's definitely not one of our girls, that's for sure. size difference between the head and the feet. Almost looks like the head is disproportionately large for the size of the feet carrying it. I'll try to turn around. But I'd never really noticed that about rhinos before. And now looking at him walk off, tell me where the gap should be there. And he's still pacing. They really do have humongous heads. And that's why they have such huge muscle build up around their necks to hold those big heads. So he's using his horn now. He's actually detaching, or is he? Is he sharpening his horn? Let's see what he does. Sometimes they'll use dead trees, fallen over trunks to sharpen their horn by rubbing it backwards and forwards. But Gareth observed some interesting behavior the other day of a rhino bull who actually tried to eat it. Looks like he's going to scent mark again. There you go. He's quite serious about making this his territory. Di, this is an amazing question, an absolutely amazing question. I'll answer it. He's moving off, but I'll answer your question. Di's asked us, when the horn has been trimmed, does it encourage them to avoid conflict where necessary? So there's not that much research on it just yet, because horn trimming is a relatively new thing, and I think it would be a fascinating thing for a scientist to study or to do, you know, some seriously robust research on. But Gareth, who thinks like a scientist and who's quite analytical about things, and even, you know, other people have a bit of a theory on this. Now, this is strictly a theory. It's not science. Nothing's been confirmed. But actually, what you would see before the rhino's horns were trimmed was that they would come together and they would touch the tip of their horns, and that would almost be a sizing up moment. And then they would get a better gauge quicker as to who was stronger and who wasn't. And so it seemed like the conflict was avoided because they would touch horns and one of them would realize, I'm no match for you, and they'd get out of the area, realizing I'll take you on in a year or 2 or 3, but not right now. What we have now is a situation where everyone's brought down, the playing field seems to be equalized. So everyone has a stump, and so there's not that feeling it out and then separating. There's actually seems to be a lot more contact conflict between white rhino bulls since dehorning. Now, like I've said, this is really just a theory. We don't have enough evidence to call it, you know, conclusive, but in our observation, we have observed far more white rhino bull fights, serious conflicts where they've been battered and bruised and sore for days afterwards, post horn trimming. Prior to that, it was very rarely that you'd watch white rhino bulls in any form of conflict, and that's because it was quick. They'd figure things out and then they'd go their own way. So obviously it's just a theory, but it seems like it could be pretty robust. We'll have to keep tally on how many conflicts we see now on Rietspruit. But it could actually be the opposite to what you've suggested, Di. Time will tell, and maybe some research will be published, and then we'll get back to you. They also go for longer. The fights carry on for longer because they're not lethal anymore. So white rhino bulls who were fighting previously, you know, one well or poorly positioned, depending on how you look at it, one well-positioned horn placement could be lethal to the opponent. Whereas now, nobody's dying. It's just blunt force trauma that can go on for a very long time before one of them surrenders and says, this is no longer, I can't put up with this anymore. So the fights seem to actually be more brutal and do a little bit like more superficial damage. They have a lot more bleeding, a lot more bruising. Sometimes they even appear a bit sick. And I think, you know, that wasn't so much the case. It would be over a lot quicker, even if they did decide to come to blows before their horns had been trimmed. Only a pleasure, Bob. I love those kind of questions because they let me use my brain and explain what chats. It makes you all privy to conversations that we as guides and scientists have around the dinner table. I think you'd all roll your eyes at how nerdy the painted dog crew can be when we're having a dinner and we're talking about all these theories. But that was a nice looking glass into some of the conversations that we've had recently around rhino conflict. Obviously, it's also a manipulation of what the natural behavior would be, because we expect the natural behavior, or the natural behavior is what is right is what would be if they had their horns. So it's not a good thing necessarily that this is how conflict is now being carried out, but we're hoping that, you know, we're trimming this current generation of white rhinos in the hope that the next ones we'll squash the demand to the point where the next generation, or perhaps the generation after that, there won't be the necessity to do that, and then these minor behavioral changes should go back to what is more natural. But largely, if you speak to a lot of the vets, they'll say that the horn is not fundamental to a rhino. It's obviously an important part of their anatomy, but it's not like losing a limb, for instance. They can, as you've noticed, as everybody who's been here a little while has been able to observe, they can carry on as normal. And so, one rhino at a time, we try and save the species. I think the species will be fine. We just have to keep at the good work. As a conservation generation, we need to keep at the good work. But that good work might not just be single species saving, might not just be focusing on rhino conservation, it might be focusing on conservation of a rhino's habitat. And there's so many different facets to how you save a species, and it's not just one focus. It draws on so many different elements in order to really protect wildlife. Did you see that? What dashed across the road there? Was it a duiker? It's becoming clear on Rietspruit Game Reserve. When in doubt, duiker. If you have a flash sighting of something, it's a duiker. If eyes are shining back at you after dark, generally it's a duiker. Let's. It's pretty lighting this time of the evening. before we found the white rhino bull was very exciting because it was what we were doing all afternoon. Before we found him, I was chatting to you about Andrew's beautiful wild dog picture, snacking on the remains of something. I think it was an impala. And it should be on the screen now, but if you are one of our pack members and you are still haven't emailed the word feast to info@painted.com, what are you doing? It's been a week. Andrew will be offended if you don't want his photo. I'm just joking. But that is available to you. This is the last afternoon that you can get your hands on the picture, the full high resolution picture of the wild dog. Tomorrow it will be something new. So be sure, if you're a pack member, if you're one of our pack members and you want to get your hands on that, make sure that you email us, info@paintedDog.com. What? paintedDog.tv. Yes, I don't know why I was like, I just glitched there. I know it's .tv. By this time, a month ago, I was already bundled in 6 layers. So seasons changing quickly out here. And it is exciting, but when the rain comes, game viewing is going to be very different. The bush will thicken up, we'll get more leaves on the shrubs and trees, the grass will grow tall and green, and generally finding things is going to be just a little trickier. Stations, I'll be keen to respond to the male lions. I'm about 5 out. Sounds like the lions are on the fence. Makes total sense because that'll be obviously a hard boundary of their territory. They haven't been on the fence for, I think about 5 or 6 days, so it's definitely time for them to do a little bit of a, even if it's just a section of the fence, a little fence patrol. Andrew makes a valid point. It's possible that the BCC females are not far from the fence, and so we've seen a lot of the BCC females on the fence lately. So it makes even more sense that that the males would be just a little bit interested. Also, I found out something very interesting about these male lions. I'm sure that you know this, or some of you will know this already. But we've had some good chats about the coloration of their mane in the last few weeks and how they've really got quite nice dark features, particularly around the bottom parts of their mane. And that is because their grandfather is a Kalahari black-maned lion. A big Kalahari black-maned lion, and he was born and raised in the Kalahari and then moved to another private game reserve not too far from here. He was 0. Then his son, he had a son, and they kept that son on that other reserve, and he was sub-0, and then sub-0 had these 3 boys. And so they have strong Kalahari black-maned lion genetics in them, and that's, you know, part of what will make them look quite big, and also that dark coloration. Of course, you can get dark coloration anywhere. The genetics, it's genetic dependent. It's just a trait that is more closely associated with male lions in the Kalahari. And that's also attributed to just like conditions. So in this environment, there's a lot of shrubby bush. There's a lot of low-lying shrubby bush, and the manes of these lions often will snag on vegetation and it thins out a little bit. Whereas lions in the Kalahari are not contending with nearly as much shrubby bush, and so their manes are just not snagged as often, they're not pulled as much. So it's a genetic component as well as a situational component. Okay, there's some neighbors of ours. Where are our lions? Oh, goodness me, we have a serious sighting. The whole of the BCC are trying to view our male lions. Andrew, I think I'm not going to go too close. Let's just park here and put the camera on him. We have about 4. There you go, one of our big boy. That is kinky tail, or the male with the kink in his tail. Right now, he's posing for us, and he's also very much recognizable by that scar on the right side of his face. I wish that we knew how we got it.
Kevin, good afternoon. There's rhinos, I think, a little bit everywhere. Limandering at Feskent, at Hippodam. The pride is also at Hippodam. The male lions are on the Madrid fence line somewhere.
How lovely of him to decide to look into this direction.
In the block between...
And with the sun setting directly behind us, it's hitting his face, and he looks so beautiful. I think the other male is in the thicket to the left of the car there. But we're going to wait. If this male gets up and walks in this direction, it would be fantastic. And if he doesn't, well, at least we've got a gorgeous view of him.
With the pride, can we approach? Chris, leaving the lock of the Wyrone account car on Limandering East, open lock.
The camera makes it look like they're a lot closer than they are. Oh, look at that now. Here comes the other one, but up behind him. So he's just out of frame, but he should move into frame now. Oh, there you go. Hi there. They look... Actually, they look particularly rugged today, like real male lions. Our boys are not just his descendants, they're his sons, so it's his direct line. Mary Sub-Zero's sons are these 3 boys. Yeah. But of course we believe that there's only 2 of them left. Oh, there are females on the other side. Of course, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I don't know if Andrew's going to be able to get them, but let's get a bit closer because there's not as many cars now. People have left. And there is a little bit of interaction between the females and the males. It's just growling for now. Oh, oh, oh. You know, that's still entertaining. Oh, she's being a little bit flirty, legs in the air. Okay, I'm going to swing this way for you, Andrew. How's that? So you can see her legs in the air. Elvis has entered the sighting and subsequently left the sighting. There she is. She's rolling around. What would be particularly interesting now is if just moving. Hi there. Hello, everybody. Hi. You too. Look at how different their faces are, actually. These two male lions have very different faces, even though they have the same genetics.
Water station alert. Thank you.
This sighting would be even more interesting if the males from the other side rocked up to check on their female. Then we would have a little bit of interaction. Hi. He's looking particularly hardcore with his scar. It's just made his face swell, so he looks like a mean lion. A mean sleepy lion at the moment. It's almost like he's watching the sunset. Obviously that's ridiculous, but it feels like it. The sun is setting directly behind us, and he's at the top of a mountain majestically looking. This female. I don't know if you can get her, Andrew. If you want, I can. There you go. This is such an interesting interaction for me because generally when a female comes across a male lion that she hasn't mated with, she's going to be nervous of him, she's going to act submissive, and she's probably even going to be flirty to avoid being attacked by him. And these lions, of course, they've had numerous interactions, but they've never formed part of a pride coalition alliance because they've got the fence between them. So it's so interesting for me that they're so comfortable in one another's company, even though they've never actually formed an alliance. I always like to describe a pride and a coalition like a business contract, to a partnership between two businesses for the benefit of both of them. The pride are almost like, just checking where we're going, back to the male. Okay, so the pride is like a family business, and the coalition is another family business, and the two family businesses come together for a time that it's convenient for both of them and beneficial to both of them to form an alliance. And then when it's no longer convenient for the pride and there are stronger males, new males will come in and oust the coalition, and then the loyalty of the females very quickly transfers from the previous males to the new dominant males. So there's not that alliance between this female and these males, and yet there's this comfort between them. She's got beautiful eyes. I wonder if this is the same female we've been seeing on the fence for the last few days. She looks very young, actually. She's not a big lioness at all. Perhaps coming into her first estrus, and so she's figuring, well, any male lion will do at this point. She doesn't realize that these ones, though only a few meters, are actually worlds apart from her. And unless one of them does something naughty, like get through the fence, they'll never actually meet. That's not an encouragement. Please don't go through the fences. Oof, flop down. So the female's actually growling. I think she's being a little bit flirty. Obviously there's nothing that these lions can do about her, but they're going to hang around just in case. He keeps looking behind us as though he's seen something, but I can't see anything on either side of the fence behind us, so I'm not entirely sure what's catching his attention every now and then. Beautiful shot though, Andrew. Look how delicate he's being about folding his paws as well. How civilized. Oh. Typical. He's listening very intently. Mary says we frequently see this, boys on one side and a female from BCC on the other side. Yeah, I mean, I'm not at all surprised. It makes total sense. It is just interesting when you do a deep dive into the behavior of the animals that these girls must recognize that these are potentially males, potentially dominant males over them, even though they never will be. They must have that familiarity and that recognition, because she's very comfortable in their presence, and they're also quite comfortable in hers. And I'm sure they spend hours, if they spend hours on the fence securing their territory, they are going to encounter one another frequently. Andrew's seen them, he's been lucky. I'm yet to see an interaction between the males from that side and our males on this side. But even that happens on occasion, where they chase each other up and down the fence like male lions, defending their territory and their prides. Looking in the opposite direction. I'm going to give them maybe 10 minutes or so just to see if anything does change. Big yawn. If they get moving or if they roar. Mainly because with the female from the other side here, she's definitely part of a pride. 3 nights ago, Thursday evening. What happened on Thursday evening's Zoom drive is Gareth and Andrew was on camera. They watched the cheetah brothers make a kill in this area, just a little bit further west of where we are now. And then they made a second kill, but the unfortunate thing was that the impala jumped through the fence, and then it actually died on the other side of the fence. And so it got away from the cheetahs, but it didn't escape death. And we put up a camera trap, and we saw a jackal come and the jackal actually put the impala out of its misery and tried to feed on it. And then within a couple of minutes, the lionesses showed up in this area. So we know that she's part of a pride and that there's, often a few of them. Sometimes if a female is in estrus, she'll go off and try and find males and separate herself out from the pride. So maybe that's what's happening here. Flop down, of course. But if they start vocalizing, then other lions from the BCC side could join on that side of the fence. Although another component to consider is that if male lions do have, if they have a female and they believe she's in estrus, they're actually not going to vocalize, because why would they want to tell other male lions where they are? They don't want to advertise the fact that they've got a female who they could breed with. So I've seen it a lot that whenever, even a leopard, whenever a male and a female are copulating, there's very little vocalization that happens. Sometimes even a male will separate out from his coalition and find a receptive female and breed with her, and his coalition mates are roaring to try and find him, and he'll be within a couple of 100 meters, really not far from them. And he'll just ignore it. Be like, I'm not letting you know where I am, because then you're going to want to take your turn. And I want her to have only my cubs. Because it's individual fertilization with lions. So each cub could have, technically speaking, a different father. The paternities can be different. Yes, Mary, everybody was quite concerned about that impala, but it was the jackal that did the deed, finished it. And then the lions that came and fed on it, and they made short work of it. It all happened very quickly as well, because we came, set the camera trap up, did a loop, came back in maybe less than an hour, and the lions were feeding. So we just assumed that the lions had killed it and started feeding on it. But then when we got the camera trap footage the next morning, we learned that there was an unsuspected character involved in our story. It was actually very surprising. Okay guys, you have 7 minutes left of your 10 minutes, otherwise we're going to leave you in pursuit of something else. It's tragic. It is actually tragic when you see an impala or any animal being injured by the fence. That's really not how it should be. And thankfully, proportionally, it doesn't happen very often. But the part that brings great relief is the fact that nothing goes to waste. There's always a cleanup crew. Look how the attention of male. I'm going to be quiet now. very interesting. There's another roar that's coming from just east of us. Now we can't see it just yet, but I actually think that maybe my dream of meeting the other males could become a reality this evening. Otherwise there's a female that's just up there and she was roaring with them, but there's definitely a fourth lion in this area. Andrew and I looked at each other at the same time because we could hear a fourth roar. We're just going to hang tight now because it could get very interesting. Less so if it's a female making their way into this area, but if it's a male, then we could see a lot. We could see a lot of drama. And I won't hazard a guess as to whether it was a male or a female, because with the other three roaring, it's very difficult to pick up the notes and the...
Station on lock with the bride, please come in.
Not me. It's very difficult to pick up the nuances in a roar at the best of times, but when there's three...
I'm responding to the crowd. I'll be there in 5 minutes, and then if there's anybody there, I'll give you an update. Otherwise, we add 2 conversations for the same information.
Is there movement back there? No, I thought I saw something back there, but I think my eyes are playing tricks on me because I just desperately want to see.
Don't get a response, then you're free to go ahead because it means nobody's there.
Okay, copy that, thank you.
Look how they're focusing in the direction of where that roar came from. Di says she's so envious. Honestly, I wish I could pacify how you're feeling, Di, but it is one of the best feelings in the whole wide world to sit with male lions when they're roaring. It makes you feel really, really small, and it humbles you. Christine, it was definitely a duet. It was more like a choir with all 4 of them. A quartet. Could happen again. They're very alert. Well, the males are very alert. You can't see, but the female's completely flat. She's not even interesting. Don't worry about it, Andrew.
Station on lock with the male lions. I'm responding. I'm about 10 minutes out.
Good time of the day to groom if you're a male lion. The whole day there's been this oppressive heat. Get the hardy dars, Andrew. Just joking. Damn, we have a little bit of a joke trying to get hardy dars, but that's actually epic. Well done, Andrew. Don't know if you heard them, but they were going ah ah. Mary recently asked if we could. I think it was Mary asked if we had seen any hardy dars recently, so there we go, just for you. Barbara, that's such a good way to put it. When a lion roars, you can feel it in your soul. Yeah, you can feel it in your soul and in your rib cage, and if your feet are grounded on the floor in your toes, everything vibrates. Well, they performed for us, yeah, in less than 10 minutes. They did a great job.
Oh no, I mean about the vehicle.
Oh. As I'm spending more time on this reserve, I'm getting to know these lions as individuals. And it's crazy. I think I said this earlier in this sighting, but genetically, they will be, I'm not sure if they had the same mother, I should find that out. Sometimes males will be referred to as brothers if they're born to the same pride in the same cohort of cubs. And it's just a nice umbrella term to be able to call them brothers. They definitely have the same father, so they're at least half brothers. But it would be interesting to know whether they were born, and I can ask somebody, whether they were born to the same mother as well, and she had 3 males in a litter, or if 1 or 2 or 3 females within the pride had a litter around the same time, and there was 3 boys of the same age. So they would be paternal stepbrothers, half brothers, but it's possible they were born to the same mum as well, which would make them full brothers. Mary, firstly, I think you're right. Part of the reason why you love the call of the hardy-dar is because you don't live in a South African city. In a South African city, they can become quite a nuisance. They're very loud, and they wake you up at like an hour before the sun has risen. You'll start to hear the hardy-dars calling. Some people affectionately call them the Sandton seagulls, because Sandton is a city, it's a suburb in Johannesburg, and they are just everywhere. Oh, they're pointing. I think there's another one lying in the grass here. The vehicle that's coming from the other side are just pointing in a direction. We can't see any more lions, but I assume there's a lioness a little bit further up on the other side of the fence. That would be roughly where we heard the 4th voice in the choir coming from. And number 2, Mary says the other reason why she loves them is because somebody once said that they sound like they're afraid of heights. And it is kind of true. Ah, ah. Elvis is making sure every single part of him is spotless this evening. He's up. One of the people in that vehicle has stood up, and this lion's actually looking in that direction and moving in that direction. So it's just interesting, because often what we'll tell guests on a game drive brief is don't stand, the animals respond differently to you. And this was a perfect example of that. One of the ladies on those vehicles stood up, and the male lion absolutely fixated on her and was like, oh, let me figure out. That's amazing. Let's go with them for a little bit longer. I know, right? Give it a little bit of gas. There's the other line, the culvert. So it's a lioness. If you just look beyond there, you'll see how close is he going. There she is. Great stuff, Andrew. Yeah, I did think it was probably going to be a female. If they had heard a male at such close proximity, they probably would have gone and sought it out. And they didn't do that. They just let it roar with them. They're both on the move now. What do you think? I think since we know that it's a female. Yeah, Mary says these lionesses want to get that good Kalahari lion DNA. You can hardly blame them. Sounds like there's another car heading into this area. We have had a pretty fantastic sighting. So I think what we're going to let them do is let them carry on along the fence. For the last maybe 20 so minutes of drive, let's go see what else we can find. Sound good? I love how tight the turning circle of this little car is. Stations. I'm going to be leaving the 2 male lions to 2 other stations. There are also 2 lionesses from the BCC side south of the fence line with these male lions. There's a rhino cow and calf at Kudu Krip, which is exactly where we spent the afternoon looking for rhinos. Luckily we found that male, the rhino bull. Number 11. Oh, it looks like everybody is leaving the lions. I'm going to go straight down the fence and then I'm going to use the new road. We've been hearing a lot of leopard activity lately around our house and it's getting us all very worked up. 2 nights ago, Gareth and I were in bed and we heard a leopard calling. I'm just going to pack up my stuff here so that it doesn't all fall out. I don't have a door on either side of the car, so make sure that all my resources are well packed. Anyway, we were in bed ready to go to bed and we heard that and we both looked at each other and we were like, that was really close. And then we waited a minute and we heard it again and we were like, we have to go. And we don't like sleep, our phones are not close to us because we don't want the phones in our bed. It's just one of those weird quirks. So we both got up and we grabbed our phones and we both had a text from Andrew saying, did you hear that? So we all got very excited and we went out and then we started hearing bushbuck barking around the house. So that's also a key indication of a predator. So we were even more worked up and even more excited about it. I And then of course we didn't find what we were looking for. Very anticlimactic. Very anticlimactic. But we know they are there. We know they are here. The more, yeah, Andrew was, what's that? A duiker. Andrew was excited, but he wasn't coming with us. He was like, no, I know the chances are not good. You guys enjoy your search. The wild goose chase for the elusive leopard of Rietspruit Game Reserve. We'll get them. We'll get them. We are positive. We are resilient. We're not taking it personally. We're going to just keep trying. So the loop we're doing now is going to take us up. There's an impala in the distance, don't worry about it. So strange. This impala walked up to the fence, put its head through the fence, pulled its head out, and is now standing in the middle. Maybe there was a really nice piece of grass just on that side of the fence. This impala truly believes that the grass is greener on the other side. No, but he's fine. He pulled his head back. Oh. I think the leopards do live their best lives on the Rietspruit Game Reserve, Mary. We hear them, we see tracks, we see something's. I might just do a loop here before we go down, see if the cheetahs are in the area. There's an impala here that is acting a little bit weird, so I'm just going to do a loop around this block. I don't want to go directly towards it because I don't want to spook it, but it clearly wants to be on the other side of the fence. I'm going to have a look here and just scour for anything that could be putting a bit of pressure on it, and then we'll come down, we'll do a loop towards Mamba Dam, see what we can find. Crossing fingers, crossing toes. Yeah, hopefully it's a leopard, but no guarantees. Any luck?
Yes, we found the female and we fed her.
Oh, you fed her?
Yeah.
Did she eat?
Philip arrived same time and now she ate.
Oh, where is she?
She's on Hofpad. If you go up Hofpad.
Far?
No, not too far. Maybe 5 minutes.
Okay. The bull was 11. He was okay though.
10. In Konzo.
Inside.
Funny.
Yeah, is it 10?
Yeah, it's a 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, with the funny horn.
Yes, there's a piece missing.
Yeah, was that from dehorning or was that from fighting?
No, it was the
Trimming. I'm learning. Old habits die hard. Okay, yeah, that's what we were looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, him, but he was fine.
Did you come past the fence all the way?
Yeah, just from Madrid.
Ah, okay.
The male lions are there.
Have a look if maybe the other cow is in that area. But if you
Okay.
went there, then
No sign, not even tracks.
Okay.
We'll go have a look. Thank you. Okay, that's good. Maybe we'll catch her. I know we can't put a light on her, but they just said, so that was again Hanno and Andreas Rhino Revolution, and they just said that they found one of the females and they were there, they found her, and then the other person who's doing helping out with them, also part of Rhino Revolution, came and they fed her with some grass. So these girls are going to do just fine. They have chosen their freedom, and I kind of love that about them. If she's a little bit past Madrid, we must have just missed the feeding. But I can hardly complain. We had a fantastic lion sighting, so I can't complain that we missed the feeding of either Lula or Kalula. I'm not sure which one it is. There's another car up ahead of us. We're just going to drive this road a few more minutes. Actually, we're not. I changed my mind. There's a car in front of us, so we'll eat dust for a little bit of the way, but also if they said 5 minutes down this road, it's gonna be mostly dark by then, and then we can't really put a light on her, and I don't want to put too much pressure on her. She's not only is she in a new environment and potentially just a little bit uncomfortable. Even on Wednesday morning, they were shyer females. They weren't comfortable with our presence. That's why we had to play it quite conservatively. If you were watching, you would have known that I spent an hour and a half chatting to you while they tried to sedate and move the first one. Andrew, if you don't mind, would you put a little light on this Lucerne Poole? You want the light off? Yeah, we don't need the light yet. So this is what the feed looks like for Lula and Kalula at the moment. And we're just putting it at very strategic points on the reserve. Kind of reminds me when I was really young, I had a cat that I was obsessed with, and we moved homes, and my cat ran away. He went to the vet and got neutered, and my parents put him in a room that they thought had no... Andrew thinks he's seen something under it's a duiker. Would have been nice though. Would have been promising. Anyway, my parents put him in a room, and he was very sedated, and they didn't even think there was a window open, but there was a crack in one of the windows that he managed to pull open, and he escaped, and I lost my cat. And so we used to go into the neighborhood and put little bowls of food all throughout the neighborhood, just in the hopes that if he was around, we could still be feeding him. And you won't believe it, but 6 months later, he arrived on the doorstep of the house that we had moved from. So we moved from one house to another house that were probably 5 miles apart, 8 to 10 kilometers apart. And that's quite far. And obviously, I mean, the navigation skills of a domestic cat I don't think are great. It did take him 6 months to cover that distance. But I'll never, luckily my aunt and uncle, my dad's brother, had moved into the house that we had moved out of. So, and they knew that I had lost my cat, so they phoned us and they said, "Your cat's arrived here." And it was the most exciting night of my life. I was about a 5-year-old, and it was already 8 p.m, which was late for me because my parents were quite good about bedtime. And my dad said, "I'll bring him home, and if you go to sleep now, he'll be here in the morning." And my dad went to fetch him, and lo and behold, he was home in the morning, and then he lived another 15 years with us. He was the best cat I ever had. But all of this was to tell you, animals have an incredible sense of direction, inbuilt direction. Andrew says he takes it I'm a cat person. I am the most cat person I know. Not really, I mean, I don't have one because I live out here. I am obsessive about leopards. But I love all of the animals, and actually probably, yeah, I love all of the animals. So it's not just cats. Yeah, Christine, it did have a happy ending. I don't think I would have drawn out a story that long if I was going to end it tragically, but it was a very happy ending. I got him when I turned 2, and he died when I was, I think, 19, so he really did live. I think he used up probably all of his 9 cat lives in that 6-month adventure, because he was such a house cat after that. All he did was sleep on couches and lie on our beds. He never even wanted to go outside after his big adventure. He'd learned his lesson. We had fantastic leopard tracks here yesterday. Today we've got great baboon tracks, and that's no surprise. They've been hanging out around the house all day. If you watch any of the cams, critter cam or giraffe cam or camp cam, you might have seen them drinking and playing around today. Baboons are wise. They're spending as much time as close to the water as possible. Luckily, they're not very comfortable around us. Otherwise, I don't want to think about them breaking into our house. That wouldn't be fun. I've had baboons in my bedroom before. I thought when Gareth and I, before we got married, we lived in separate accommodation at Mala Mala, and I thought that Gareth was coming into my room. And I didn't know why he wasn't speaking. I was like, hello, hi. You know, I was lying on the bed reading a book. And the next thing I knew, the blanket that was over me was being pulled. And I screamed, and then this thing jumped, and then it ran away. But it was a baboon. It had pushed my door open, and that's why I thought, it's probably Gareth coming to visit. Oh, this is weird. Why is Gareth not saying anything to me? And then it wasn't Gareth. It was a big, brawly male baboon. Thankfully, the baboons at Haste are not as comfortable as the baboons were in camp at Mala Mala. Impala, probably the same one who wants to get through the fence. Just want to, hello you. I'm going to have a look down the fence line. Doesn't seem to be anything here. This has actually been some of the areas where I've seen the wild dogs the most in my time here. I mean, I arrived when the wild dogs were released, so we've had actually quite a lot of wild dog activity in the time we've been here. Yep. Let's find a bush baby, Andrew. Although you've seen one of those recently, haven't you? You've seen 3 in the last 2 days. We saw 2 yesterday, didn't we? But we weren't live yesterday. Saturday is our non-live day, so it doesn't count. We didn't have cyber witnesses. Let's go up the airstrip here and see if there's anything. See if the leopard that's been tormenting us for the last 3 days. I mean, the reality is they're probably not in this area. The way a leopard's territorial patrol works is that the only way they'd be in an area for 3 or 4 days without moving, oopsie, sorry, shining on a nyala thinking, what are you? The only way they'd be in an area for 3 or 4 days is if they had a kill. So if they were roaring here 2 nights ago, the leopards, the chances are they have moved. Now you might hear me saying roaring as opposed to soaring or rasping, which are the other terms that people use. What's that? Ah, it's an owl. Oh, where are you gonna land? Where are you gonna go? Gonna make life difficult here, this owl. You can use any of those terms if you're talking about leopards vocalizing, roaring, soaring, or rasping. Where's our owl gone? Felt like it landed low, but of course I can't see it now. But the reason, there it is. The reason I use roaring, no. I think that's it. There. Oh, tricky. Okay. Can try. It's gone again. Let's check where he lands. Ah. No, he really took off. What a pain. Anyway, there's an owl there. The reason I use roaring is because on a technical level it's the most scientific term. The Panthera genus is defined as cats that roar, and a leopard is a Panthera. So roaring is the most technical term, but sawing and rasping are just as acceptable. Vocalizing is very generic. Anything vocalizes. An elephant, I guess, when it's trumpeting is vocalizing. You can use vocalizing as well. I'm currently vocalizing, Andrew. Listen to me. I have been. Mary says, thank you, Victoria and Andrew. Only a pleasure, Mary. We love what we do. We love being out here with all of you. We love seeing new things. We love seeing familiar things. We love chatting about wildlife. It's our favorite topic of conversation, so it's always fun to be out here. It's literally the best way to end the week. I can't think of a better way to end off my Sunday. Thank you too, Di. Thank you, everybody. Alrighty. We're gonna go this way, but I think that it's pretty much time for Andrew and I to bid you good evening. Thank you so much, everybody, for spending your Sunday, a portion of your Sunday with us, whether it be evening or morning or middle of the day or middle of the night. We hope that you enjoy the rest of what's left of your Sunday. And we will see you all for drive, same time, same place, tomorrow. Bye. Mm.